Everybody, it is great to be with you again today. I'm Tim, your Bible teacher, and just enjoying the first day of summer. And here in Sublimity, it's a very pleasant 52 degrees today. Give you an answer, one possibility anyway, give an answer to a question some people have about a passage in the Gospel of John where John mentions a woman brought to Jesus and she's accused of committing adultery. While he's listening to the accusation, Jesus stooped down and began writing something on the ground. And a lot of people have wondered, what was it Jesus wrote on the ground? Well, I want to think about that for a few minutes today, all right? John chapter 8 is where you find this, verses 1 to 11. We read there, Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery, and when they had set her in the midst, this takes place. So here we see Jesus, and he's just teaching people there in the temple area, when two groups of people, scribes and Pharisees, not necessarily friends, but they have a common enemy in Jesus, but they interrupt the meeting and said, wait a minute, stop everything. They bring this woman to him, and they claim this woman was taken in adultery. But why would this group of religious leaders bring her to Jesus? Was it because they didn't know what to do? Not at all. They wanted to find a reason to condemn Jesus. That was their reason for being there. And we know that because it says in verse 4, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? This they said, tempting him that they may have to accuse him. So no, they weren't looking for information or for Bible teaching, but they were looking for an accusation, not against the woman, but against Jesus. Let me ask you a question. Doesn't this whole situation sound like a setup in a way? They said that this lady was caught in the very act of adultery. Really? This adulterous couple meets in an inn or in a house. They hop into bed, and then all of a sudden, a group of Pharisees just happen to be hiding in the closet, and they jump out and they catch them in the act. Somehow, common sense would tell me that I doubt anyone in this particular group was actually there. I don't know if they heard rumors about this lady, or people were saying, we know what they were doing in that hotel. But you keep reading. In verse 6, we read that Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not. And so when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. So what was Jesus writing on the ground? His writing was apparently convicting to all these supposed accusers. He wrote two times, but I'll give you some suggestions. How about the first time? He was writing on the ground as if he didn't even hear them, and they wouldn't stop. Uh, Let me suggest that maybe he was writing a passage in the Bible from Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10, where Moses himself said, The man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Now, if this group of religious leaders caught this woman in the act of committing adultery, shouldn't two people be there to be stoned? Where was the man? Now, Moses said both parties should be put to death, but they just brought the woman who was there, which indicates to me that I don't think this group of religious leaders was actually the witnesses of two people committing adultery. I think they heard about it, found the woman and brought her to Jesus. But there should be two people there according to the law of Moses. But there's only one. And we read in verse 8, again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. He had something else to say as he wrote on the ground a second time. Let me suggest that it's very possible it was a second verse from the Bible, also written by Moses, in Deuteronomy 17:6, where Moses said, "At the mouth of two witnesses or three witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death, but at the mouth of one witness he shall not be put to death." In other words, there needs to be at least two witnesses to the crime before any death penalty could be carried out, which raises the question, were any of these religious leaders actually witnesses of this couple committing adultery? It doesn't sound like it. They didn't bring the man. Common sense would tell us that, these people would probably look for some privacy if they're going to commit adultery. And we know that verse 9 says, which they heard it being convicted by their own conscience, they went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had lifted up himself, he saw none but the woman. He said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Now, Jesus did not ask her if she was guilty. I think he knew what the truth was of the matter, but the question that he asks is, Where are your accusers? You see, without witnesses, there could be no condemnation. And those leaders who brought this woman to Jesus left. The woman was left alone. Now, some people look at this and say, you see, Jesus did not think this was a big deal, and he was willing to let this adulteress off in this case, but that is not what's going on here at all. That has nothing to do with what's taking place. Jesus was not an eyewitness of this adultery. And even if he was, there wasn't a second witness there because all of these men who brought this woman left, and they realized that they were guilty on both counts. Number one, there should be two people there, and number two, there should be eyewitnesses there to this account, and they didn't fulfill either requirement that was written by Moses. You see, they were trying to find something to accuse Jesus of, so they could say, see, he doesn't obey the law of Moses. Moses said this woman should be stoned, but the truth was Jesus was the only one of those who were there who actually upheld the law of Moses. And that's why he said, neither do I condemn thee. He wasn't an eyewitness. Go and sin no more. And you know what? I think the woman did. I think that she repented and did sin no more. But Jesus gave her the opportunity to do that because he was the only one there who was really upholding the law of Moses. There are people today who look at Jesus and say, yeah, he ignored the law of Moses, but there's a better way. And that's grace that he showed her, but that's not what's going on here at all. He was actually demonstrating that he was fulfilling the law of Moses as he told them every jot and every tittle. The law of Moses would be fulfilled. And Jesus fulfilled those in his ministry, in his teaching, and in this example that we have here. And I hope that explains that to you a little bit. And also, I think maybe that'll help us understand how Jesus took the law of Moses so seriously, even more than the scribes and Pharisees that day. Well, consider this today. If you have more questions, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. And enjoy the first day of summer with me. Will you have a great day? See you again very soon.